Today we're going to take a look at the tactics to play like Southgate's England side from the World Cup 2022. Here is how we bring football home. Now, right off the bat, the formation they debuted in their first game is a little different than what the game has, so we're going to create a brand new team sheet for the World Cup 2022 England squad. And it's worth noting this team plays very different depending on the games through the group stages. It's one of the more adaptable, so you'll see the 4-3-3 that's default. You'll see 3 at the back sometimes, but the way they played in their opening game was a 4-2-3-1 that actually really closely mimics this 4-3-3 attack. That's what you want to pick in FIFA. Now, in terms of the actual lineup for this team, we're going to have to make some adjustments just to be realistic. Again, if you're just playing to get wins, feel free to pick whoever you want in this formation, but we had Saka starting on the right for this first game, Mount just behind Harry Kane, and then in midfield, Declan Rice on the left as one of the defensive mids and Bellingham as the right. Now in this formation, the defensive mids are actually center mids. We'll explain exactly how the tactics work in a second. Backline, Chilwell's out, so Shaw was starting, Maguire and Stones, and then on the right-hand side, instead of Walker, you want Kieran Trippier as our right back for this one. Pickford can stay in between the sticks. This is the lineup that England used in their first game. Now, I fully expect to see the team change and even possibly use different formations over the course of the tournament, but maybe we'll have a follow-up video on that. For now, the 6-2 result worked pretty well. Now, in terms of the actual team tactics, the balanced defense is pretty adequate for the way England play in real life. Not over-committing to a press, not necessarily sitting deep. I think the thing you're gonna wanna change here though is instead of having the width to 60 and the depth to 60, dial both back to 50. I think the team plays a pretty out-of-the-box style that I think you'll get a more balanced approach to with that. Now, in terms of the offense, the slow build-up in possession settings are exactly what you want. Now, that's not to say you can't play a little faster if you want to try balanced maybe, but the way England generally play as an international team is pretty slow and careful in their build-up play. Again, in terms of the width, I think dialing it back to 65 is a little more realistic. And I think, again, players in the box, the out-of-the-box setting here are 4. It's a little more cautious, which is generally the way England likes to play to avoid getting hit on the counter. Now, with corners and free kicks, they're both set to 3 by default, but England are a really strong team off of set pieces. You could consider dialing those up to 4 at the risk of being hit on a counterattack, but I would definitely suggest, at least for free kicks, having 4 to get a lot of players in the box. Now, in terms of the player instructions, this is where it all comes together. So, having Sterling out on the left-hand side, you're going to want to have him cut inside and be a goal threat. Saka, the same exact thing, both wingers cutting inside. And this is where it gets more interesting. Harry Kane as a false 9, we know he loves to drop deep and link up play. There's a very well documented history of him playing that way, not only for England, but for Tottenham. So I'm sure you can do some research on your own if you're interested in how that works. But Harry Kane, crucial to the link up play for those wingers. And then Mason Mount listed as an attacking mid when we use this formation to get those wingers, but he's not necessarily playing that advanced. And he actually does a lot of cleanup work in midfield. So you're gonna wanna have him come back on defense. In terms of support for crosses, I think balanced is about right. And then free roaming on the positional freedom will not have him just bombing into the box and almost playing like a second striker, but rather filling in the spaces where you need and really supporting the wingers who are going to be getting a lot of the goals in this formation. I think once you get a sense for how this formation works, you're really going to see that position in particular come together. Now, Declan Rice wants to stay back while attacking. He's the more conservative of the two. He'll play more like a defensive mid, even though they're just listed as plain center mids with this formation. The rest can stay default. But Jude Bellingham, on the other hand, is going to be on balanced attack. More defensive at times, but also way more offensive, especially compared to Rice at times. So this will afford him the opportunity to get in the box. Now, for the fullbacks, you're going to want to have balanced attack for both of them. But the key setting here is to have both of your fullbacks overlap. And since both wingers are cutting inside, this is going to afford them the opportunity to keep the width of this formation that is kind of narrow at times and put in crosses into the box. For center backs and goalkeeper, all the default settings are fine. So that's it for this one. Check out another tactical guide if you're interested, and I hope to see you again soon.